Welcome guys. Before us we have a question 2, and this video is just the continuation of biology paper 2 for the 2023 for the internals. Now question 2 reads, figure 2 shows processes of the effect of glucose produced during photosynthesis. The letter C to I represents these processes. Now we know that photosynthesis, the simple definition that we can give is that photosynthesis is a process by which plants manufactures their own food. Now, the food that is produced by photosynthesis is glucose. Now, what does it mean if they say fate of glucose? So, fate of glucose simply means the use of glucose. What are the uses of glucose after being manufactured? Right. So, that's what it means by fate of glucose. Now, we have letters C to I represents these processes that are summarizing the effect of glucose. So the first one is process C. Now process C, as we can see, it is the process by which glucose changes or is converted into amino acids in the presence of nitrates. Now the nitrates are the ions, and these are in form of salts. And if you look at the transportation in plants, we have the xylem under the vesicular system. The xylem is given the function of transporting water needed by the photosynthesis and the mineral salts, which is the nitrates. So the mineral salts are needed by the leaves to react with glucose to form the amino acids. Then the amino acids are monomers for protein. So that's how I can simplify process C. And please, as you are studying biology, my advice is that please start deeper, because biology is more deeper than we think it is. Right. So let's continue. Now, this process of changing glucose into amino acids is called glucolysis. So the word lysis simply means to split. So it's a process where the glucose splits, then from that it reacts with nitrates to form the amino acids. Now what of process D? So process D, we are looking at glucose changes into sucrose. So this process is hydrolysis. So hydrolysis is the breaking down of glucose to form sucrose in the presence of water. So the reason why we are saying there is water because of the prefix hydro. Then process E is the process where glucose changes into fats and oil. Why do we need fats and oil? Fats and oil, they store energy for later use. So this process is defining that process of changing glucose into fats and oil, and this one is known as lipogenesis. Then we move on to process F, where glucose changes into starch. Now if you look at this one, glucose is acting as a monomer for starch. So starch is a large macromolecule produced from the monomers of glucose. So this one is polymerization. So even process G is also polymerization. So cellulose is a large molecule formed from glucose. So this is also polymerization. That's why this is now biochemistry. And if chemistry is part of your course, you are going to look at organic chemistry, where you are going to use the glucose as monomers to produce starch. Right. Now, what of nucleic acids? So this process is the same as producing amino acids, because even these are proteins. So we are dealing with the glucolysis. This should be glycolysis. Right. Now what of process I? So process I is the process by which now the glucose is broken down to release what? Energy. So this process is respiration. Right. Now we can move on to the first question. So the first question is define the process represented by letter I. So letter I is the process by which now glucose releases energy. So we'll say respiration is the breaking down of glucose to release energy. So the key point that was here for a candidate to answer this question was about releasing of energy. So whenever you have release of energy from glucose, then you are dealing with respiration. We move on to question B. Identify one process in figure 2 which represents Roman number 1, a catabolic process. So if you look at catabolic process, we are looking at breaking down. So here we can use respiration. So respiration is an example of a catabolic process. So any process where you have a large molecule, then it breaks down into smaller molecules is what we are referring to as catabolic processes. Then the other one, hydrolysis, is also an example. Even glycolysis, because it deals with the splitting. Now Roman number 2, an anabolic process. So anabolic process, this one is building up. So we are looking at where we combine 2 or more smaller units to make a large molecule. So here we have polymerization is our answer. So polymerization, we can, if we use letters, we are looking at F and G. So then what else? So I'm sure we can just look at even lipogenesis is an example of that. Then we move on to question C. If this fate of glucose was in the human body, identify 2 processes from figure 2 which would take place. So the first one, we'll look at aerobic respiration. Then apart from aerobic respiration, we may have also glycolysis can also occur in humans as well. Then Roman number 2, state the form in which glucose would be stored. So this is now part of the endocrine system. So the storage form of glucose is glycogen. So remember, this has to do with the presence of hormones such as the insulin. So the insulin converts the excess glucose into glycogen when there is too much glucose in blood. Then the hormone glucagon. So we have the glucagon. Now the glucagon reverses, so it converts glycogen back to glucose when there is less in the body. Now D, name 2 industrial applications of process I. So process I was respiration. Excuse me. So we can use respiration, we can say in sewage treatment. Then baking. So baking can also be used. Even in brewing, we can use respiration. So this is how we can answer a question like this. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching.